The conference room felt smaller than usual that Tuesday morning. I sat at the far end of the table, nursing my lukewarm coffee while our supervisor, Derek Palmer, paced near the whiteboard. His expensive suit jacket hung perfectly on his shoulders as he gestured dramatically about quarterly targets. I'd worked at Pinnacle Analytics for 8 years, quietly building systems that kept our data operations running smoothly. My name is Adrian Cole, and I'd always believed hard work spoke louder than office politics. Derek stopped mid-sentence and turned toward me. "Adrian here is a perfect example," he said, his tone shifting. "We appreciate his contributions, but let's be honest, everyone in this room is replaceable. No single person is bigger than the company." The words hung in the air like smoke. My colleagues avoided eye contact, suddenly fascinated by their notepads. I felt my face flush hot, but I kept my expression neutral. Derek smirked slightly, clearly pleased with his point. He continued his presentation, but I stopped listening. That single word, replaceable, echoed in my mind, drowning out everything else. After the meeting ended, I walked back to my desk in a daze. My hands trembled slightly as I unlocked my computer screen. Replaceable. The word felt like a slap across the face, especially coming from Derek, who'd praised my work just 3 months ago during my performance review. I'd built the entire data pipeline system from scratch, implementing algorithms that saved Pinnacle nearly $2 million annually in processing costs. I opened my file directory and stared at folders containing years of documentation, custom scripts, and proprietary tools I developed during late nights and weekends. Most of it lived only on my personal drive, backed up to my home cloud storage as a precaution. The company had never asked me to formally transfer ownership, assuming everything I created automatically belonged to them. I'd always been too trusting, too loyal. Now, sitting in the fluorescent glow of my monitor, I realized my mistake wasn't creating all this value. It was giving it away without protection. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Lisa in accounting. That was harsh. "You okay?" I didn't respond immediately. That evening, I drove home through rush hour traffic, Derek's words replaying on an endless loop. Replaceable. My apartment felt quieter than usual as I dropped my keys on the counter and loosened my tie. I made dinner, leftover pasta reheated in the microwave, and sat on my couch, staring blankly at the television without really watching. My phone rang. It was my older brother, Kevin, calling from Seattle. "Hey, Adrian, just checking in. How's work?" I hesitated, then told him everything. Kevin listened without interrupting, then said simply, "You know what you need to do, right?" I did know, somewhere deep down. But admitting it felt like acknowledging defeat. "They don't value you there," Kevin continued. 8 years, man. You've given them everything, and that's how they treat you? Start looking around. See what's out there." We talked for another hour about life, family, and the importance of knowing your worth. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and created a new folder labeled Exit Strategy. Inside, I began documenting every project I'd completed, every system I'd built, every piece of code I'd written on my own time. The next morning, I arrived at work with a new perspective. I smiled politely at Derek when he passed my desk, but internally, I'd already started distancing myself. During our team stand-up meeting, he announced a new efficiency initiative that would require everyone to document their workflows. I found that ironic, considering he'd just called us all replaceable. If we were so expendable, why did documentation suddenly matter? I spent the day meticulously cataloging my work, but I also began a parallel project, quietly removing my personal tools and scripts from the company server. Nothing illegal. I was only taking what I'd created on my own time, using my own equipment. The company had no formal intellectual property agreement beyond a vague clause in the employee handbook. I'd checked with a lawyer friend just to be safe. By lunchtime, I'd backed up everything important to an encrypted external drive. My colleague Rachel noticed me working intently. "Big project?" she asked. I shrugged casually. "Just organizing some files." She nodded and returned to her desk. Nobody suspected anything unusual. After all, I was just replaceable Adrian, doing replaceable work. That weekend, I updated my resume for the first time in 8 years. Writing down my accomplishments felt strange. I'd never been good at self-promotion. But the list was impressive. Designed and implemented an automated data processing system, reduced operational costs by 43%, mentored 6 junior analysts, and pioneered 3 proprietary algorithms that became industry standards within our niche. I spent Sunday afternoon crafting cover letters and researching companies in the data analytics field. One name kept appearing: Quantum Insights, a rising competitor known for innovation and excellent employee treatment. Their CEO had recently given a keynote speech about valuing talent. I submitted my application late Sunday night, not expecting much. Monday morning brought a surprise. My inbox contained a message from Quantum's recruitment director: "Adrian, your background is exactly what we're looking for. Would you be available for a preliminary call this week?" My heart raced as I typed a professional response. Yes, I was very interested. We scheduled a call for Wednesday afternoon. I closed my laptop, glancing around the office. Nobody knew that the replaceable employee had just received a lifeline. Tuesday dragged by slowly. Derek held another meeting, this time about client retention strategies. He spoke confidently about our data systems, casually mentioning features I'd personally developed as if they were team efforts. I bit my tongue, taking notes and nodding at appropriate moments. After the meeting, he stopped by my desk. "Adrian, I need you to train the new hire on the data pipeline," he said. "Her name is Claire. She starts Monday." I looked up at him. "Train her on everything?" He nodded. "Yeah, full knowledge transfer. You know how it works. We need redundancy in case anyone leaves." The irony wasn't lost on me. Replaceable, but also indispensable enough to require a full knowledge transfer. "Sure," I said evenly. "I'll prepare some training materials." Derek patted my shoulder awkwardly. "Great. I knew I could count on you." As he walked away, I opened a blank document. I'd create training materials, but they'd be surface level at best. The deep knowledge, the shortcuts, the optimization tricks, those would remain with me. Claire would learn enough to keep things running, but not enough to truly replace me. Wednesday afternoon arrived, and I took my lunch break in my car to ensure privacy. At exactly 1 o'clock, I dialed into the video conference with Quantum Insights. 3 people appeared on screen: the recruitment director, a senior data architect named Patricia, and their chief technology officer, Dr. Raymond Hughes. They were warm and professional, asking thoughtful questions about my experience and approach to problem-solving. Patricia seemed particularly interested in my custom algorithms. "These efficiency gains you mention, can you walk us through your methodology?" I explained my process, watching their expressions shift from polite interest to genuine excitement. Dr. Hughes leaned forward. "Adrian, would you be willing to do a technical assessment? We'd love to see how you approach real-world challenges." I agreed immediately. They scheduled a 4-hour assessment for the following Tuesday, acknowledging it was a significant time commitment. "We compensate for your time, of course," Dr. Hughes added. $500 for the assessment, regardless of outcome. I thanked them, trying to keep my voice steady. This was real. This was happening. After the call ended, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, processing everything. Then I returned to my desk, where Derek was complaining loudly about a client report. The next few days felt surreal. I maintained my usual routine at Pinnacle, arriving on time and completing assignments efficiently. But mentally, I'd already checked out. I watched Derek strut around the office, taking credit for work he barely understood, and felt nothing but pity. He had no idea what was coming. On Monday, Claire arrived. She was young, enthusiastic, and eager to learn. I felt genuinely bad for her. She was walking into a situation she didn't fully understand. I spent the day showing her basic functions of our data system, explaining the user interface and common troubleshooting steps. She took detailed notes, occasionally asking insightful questions. "This system is really complex," she said during a coffee break. "How long did it take to build?" I sipped my coffee carefully. "Several years. It's evolved over time." She looked impressed. "And you built most of it?" I shrugged. I had a hand in the core architecture. Derek appeared suddenly, smiling broadly. "Adrian's being modest. He's our data guru." The casual way he said it, after calling me replaceable just days earlier, made my jaw clench. But I smiled politely and returned to training Claire. Tuesday morning, I called in sick, something I rarely did. Instead of going to Pinnacle, I drove to a quiet coffee shop across town and set up my laptop. At 9 sharp, I logged into Quantum's technical assessment portal. The challenges were sophisticated: optimizing database queries, designing scalable architecture for massive datasets, and creating algorithms for real-time data processing. I worked steadily for 4 hours, occasionally pausing to sketch diagrams or test code snippets. The problems were challenging but exhilarating, exactly the kind of work I'd been craving. At Pinnacle, I'd been maintaining existing systems for years, with little opportunity for innovation. This assessment reminded me why I'd fallen in love with data science in the first place. I submitted my solutions at 1 o'clock, then closed my laptop with satisfaction. My phone buzzed immediately, a text from Derek: "Hope you feel better. Need you back tomorrow for client presentation." I replied with a simple thumbs-up emoji, then ordered another coffee and spent the afternoon reading in the sunshine. Whatever happened with Quantum, I'd proven something important to myself: I still had it. I was far from replaceable. Wednesday brought unexpected news. I'd barely settled at my desk when my phone rang. Quantum Insights. Patricia's voice was warm. "Adrian, your assessment was exceptional. Dr. Hughes wants to move forward immediately with a formal offer. Can you meet Thursday for final discussions?" My heart was hammered. Yes, absolutely. We confirmed a time, and I hung up in a daze. Derek walked past, juggling coffee cups. "Big phone call?" he asked casually. I shook my head. "Just a vendor checking in." He nodded, distracted, and continued toward his office. I watched him go, knowing his world was about to shift dramatically. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I helped Claire troubleshoot a minor system glitch and attended a pointless meeting about office supply budgets. But my mind was miles away, imagining what came next. That evening, I called Kevin. "They're making an offer," I said, unable to hide my excitement. He whooped loudly. "That's incredible. When do you start?" I laughed. "I haven't accepted yet. Meeting tomorrow to discuss details." We celebrated over the phone, and for the first time in weeks, I felt genuinely happy. Thursday's meeting at Quantum was transformative. Their offices were modern and bright, with collaborative workspaces and a genuine energy I'd never felt at Pinnacle. Dr. Hughes greeted me personally, shaking my hand firmly. "Adrian, we're thrilled to potentially have you join our team." We sat in a comfortable conference room, and he slid a folder across the table. The offer was stunning: a 35% salary increase, full benefits, equity options, and a signing bonus. But what struck me most was the job description: Director of Data Innovation. They weren't just hiring me to maintain systems, they wanted me to build the future. "We've seen what you can do," Patricia added. "We want to give you the resources and freedom to innovate." I tried to maintain professional composure, but inside, I was soaring. We discussed start dates, projects, and team structure. By the meeting's end, I'd verbally accepted. They'd send formal paperwork by Monday. As I left their building, sunlight seemed brighter, colors more vivid. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. Now came the hard part: resigning from Pinnacle and watching Derek realize his mistake. Friday morning, I drafted my resignation letter. 2 weeks' notice, professional and courteous. I printed it and placed it in a folder, waiting for the right moment. Derek had scheduled a team meeting for 11, so I decided to wait until after. The meeting was typical. Derek talked about targets and synergy while everyone nodded. When it ended, I approached him. "Derek, do you have a few minutes?" He glanced at his watch. "Sure, quick though. I've got lunch with a client." We stepped into his office, and I handed him the folder. He opened it casually, then froze. I watched his face drain of color as he read. "You're resigning?" I nodded calmly. "Effective 2 weeks from today." He blinked rapidly, processing. "Is this about the meeting?" "Adrian, I didn't mean—" I raised a hand. "It's not about one meeting, Derek. I've accepted a position elsewhere. Better opportunity." He set the letter down, suddenly looking older. "What position? Who?" I kept my tone neutral. "I'd rather not say. But I've documented everything for Claire. She'll handle the transition. His mouth opened and closed soundlessly, searching for words. Finally, he managed, "We should discuss this." Derek suggested we grab coffee to talk. I agreed, curious to see where this would go. We walked to the cafe across the street, and he bought our drinks, a first in 8 years. We sat by the window, and he cleared his throat awkwardly. "Adrian, I think I may have been unclear in my communication lately." I sipped my coffee silently, letting him struggle. The replaceable comment. I was speaking generally about company philosophy. It wasn't personal. I raised an eyebrow. "It felt personal, Derek." He winced. "I understand. That was poor phrasing. But you have to understand, you're incredibly valuable to this team. Your resignation is problematic." "Problematic," I repeated. Interesting choice of words. He leaned forward. "What would it take to make you stay? More money? Better title?" I shook my head. "It's not about money. I need to move forward, and that's not possible here." His desperation was becoming visible. "Let me talk to upper management. I'm sure we can figure something out." I finished my coffee and stood. "I appreciate the conversation, Derek, but my decision is final. I'll make sure everything is properly documented." As I walked back to the office, I could feel his eyes on my back, burning with panic. The afternoon was awkward. Word of my resignation spread quickly through the office grapevine. Rachel stopped by my desk, looking concerned. "Is it true? You're really leaving?" I nodded. "A new opportunity came up." She sighed. "I'm happy for you, but we're going to be lost without you. Does Claire know how to handle everything?" I chose my words carefully. "She knows the basics. The documentation will help with the rest." Rachel studied my face. "But not everything is in the documentation, is it?" I didn't answer directly. "She'll figure it out. Smart woman." Rachel hugged me quickly. "You deserve better than this place anyway. Derek's been taking you for granted for years." Other colleagues approached throughout the day with similar sentiments. Most seemed genuinely sad to see me go, which felt validating. Only Derek remained in his office, door closed, presumably strategizing. Around 4, my desk phone rang, an internal extension I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. It was Gerald Morrison, Pinnacle's CEO. "Adrian, could you come up to my office?" This was unexpected. I'd met Gerald maybe twice in 8 years. "Of course." "When?" "Now, if possible." Gerald's corner office offered a panoramic city view. He gestured to a leather chair across from his massive desk. "Adrian, thank you for coming up. I understand you've tendered your resignation." I nodded. "Yes, sir. 2 weeks' notice." He steepled his fingers. "Derek brought this to my attention. He's quite concerned about the transition. He tells me you're instrumental to our data operations." I kept my face neutral. "I've contributed to building our systems, yes." Gerald leaned back. "Adrian, I'll be frank. I wasn't fully aware of the scope of your work until Derek explained this afternoon. That's my failure as a leader. I'd like to make you a counteroffer." He named a figure, substantial, but still less than Quantum's offer. "Plus, we'd promote you to Senior Data Architect, reporting directly to me instead of Derek." It was tempting, I'll admit. The recognition felt good. But I thought about Derek's replaceable comment, the years of being overlooked, the lack of innovation opportunities. I shook my head slowly. "I appreciate the offer, Gerald, truly. But I've already committed elsewhere." His expression shifted from confident to concerned. "Can I ask where?" I hesitated, then decided honesty was fair. "Quantum Insights. They've offered me a director-level position." Gerald's face paled noticeably. Quantum Insights was Pinnacle's primary competitor, and recently, they'd been winning major contracts we'd lost. "Director of what, specifically?" he asked carefully. I could have been vague, but something made me answer truthfully. "Director of Data Innovation. They want me to build next-generation analytic systems." He stood abruptly and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally, he turned. Adrian, you understand this creates a significant competitive problem for us. Your knowledge of our systems, our clients, our methodologies, I interrupted gently. I've signed nothing that prevents me from working for a competitor. And I've been careful not to take any proprietary company information. His jaw tightened. But you built those systems. The knowledge is in your head. I met his gaze steadily. Knowledge I acquired through years of personal development and research, much of it on my own time. I'm not taking code or documents, Gerald. Just my expertise. He returned to his desk, suddenly looking exhausted. What would it take to change your mind? Name your terms. I shook my head. It's not about terms anymore. It's about respect and opportunity. I need to move forward. He nodded slowly, defeated. I understand. When do you start at Quantum? 3 weeks from Monday. We shook hands, and I left his office feeling strangely liberated. Over the weekend, my phone rang constantly. Derek called 6 times Saturday alone. I ignored most of his calls, finally answering Saturday evening. Adrian, please, we need to talk about this more seriously. His voice carried a manic edge. I kept mine calm. Derek, I've made my decision. Calling repeatedly won't change it. You don't understand the position you're putting us in, he pleaded. The Sterling account alone depends on systems only you fully understand. If we lose them because of transition issues, I cut him off. Then perhaps you shouldn't have built your entire operation around one person you considered replaceable. Silence. Then, quietly, I was wrong to say that. I'm sorry. The apology felt hollow, motivated by panic rather than genuine remorse. I appreciate that, Derek. But some things can't be unsaid. He tried a different approach. What if we restructured? You'd have autonomy, your own team, and a budget for innovation. I almost laughed. You're offering me everything I should have had years ago, but only because I'm leaving. Do you see the problem? More silence. Adrian, I'm begging you. At least consider extending your notice period. Give us time to properly transition. I thought about it. I'll give you 3 weeks instead of 2. That's the most I can offer. He exhaled shakily. Thank you. That's something. We hung up, and I sat in my darkened living room, wondering if I should feel guilty. I didn't. Monday morning brought a different atmosphere. Derek had clearly briefed the entire team on the crisis of my departure. Claire looked terrified when I arrived, rushing over immediately. Adrian, Derek says I need to absorb everything you know in 3 weeks. That's impossible. I felt genuinely sorry for her. She was being set up to fail. Do your best, I said gently. Focus on the day-to-day operations first. The documentation covers most scenarios. She bit her lip nervously. But Derek keeps talking about advanced optimizations and emergency protocols. I don't even know what half those terms mean. I sighed. I'll do what I can to prepare you, Claire. But there are limits to what 3 weeks can accomplish. Derek scheduled daily transition meetings for the remainder of my time. The first one that afternoon was painful. He peppered me with questions about every system component, every possible failure scenario, every backup protocol. I answered truthfully but didn't volunteer extra information. Claire scribbled notes frantically, looking increasingly overwhelmed. By the meeting's end, Derek's stress was palpable. This is more complex than I realized, he admitted. I resisted saying, I told you so, and simply nodded. Tuesday brought an unexpected visitor. Patricia from Quantum Insights called. Adrian, I wanted to give you a heads up. Pinnacle CEO reached out to our CEO yesterday. My stomach dropped. About what? She chuckled. Attempting to poach back their own employee, basically. Our CEO politely declined to interfere with your decision but wanted you aware of the contact. I was stunned. Gerald had gone over my head directly to Quantum? What exactly did he say? Patricia's tone was reassuring. Just that you were valuable to them and they'd like to retain you. Dr. Hughes made it clear we don't operate that way. Your choice is entirely yours. But we wanted transparency. I thanked her for the information. After hanging up, I marched straight to Gerald's office. His assistant tried to stop me, but I knocked firmly and entered. Gerald looked up, surprised. "Adrian, I didn't sit. You contacted Quantum's CEO?" He had the decency to look embarrassed. I was exploring options. My voice was harder than I'd ever used with him. "That's unprofessional and frankly desperate. It makes both companies look bad." He stood. "We're trying to salvage a difficult situation." I leaned on his desk. "The situation is difficult because you ignored a key employee for 8 years. That's not my problem to solve anymore." The final 2 weeks were tense but productive. I documented everything meticulously, not out of loyalty to Pinnacle, but professional integrity. Claire shadowed me constantly, asking endless questions. She was bright and capable, but the learning curve was steep. I found myself feeling protective of her, wanting her to succeed despite Derek's impossible expectations. During our last major training session, she asked quietly, "Why are you really leaving? Is it just the Quantum offer, or something more?" I considered lying, then decided honesty was fairer. "I was told I'm replaceable. So I decided to test that theory." Her eyes widened. "Derek said that?" I nodded. "In front of the whole team." She processed this, then said softly, "For what it's worth, I don't think anyone's truly replaceable. We all bring something unique." I smiled. "Hang on to that belief, Claire. Don't let this place make you think otherwise." She promised she wouldn't. In those final days, watching Derek scramble and panic, I realized something important. My worth wasn't determined by his assessment. It never had been. My last day arrived with surprising fanfare. The team threw a small goodbye lunch, presenting me with a framed photo of our group and a gift card. Rachel gave a touching speech about my contributions. Even Derek said a few words, praising my dedication and expertise, carefully avoiding eye contact. I thanked everyone genuinely. Whatever my issues with management, my colleagues had been good to me. Gerald made a final appearance, pulling me aside. "Adrian, even now, the offer stands. We'd welcome you back anytime." I shook his hand. "I appreciate that, Gerald. But I'm excited about my new challenge." He nodded sadly. "We're going to miss you. And I suspect we'll feel that absence more than we currently realize." He was right, but I didn't say so. At 5 o'clock, I packed my personal items, photos, a coffee mug, a small plant, and took a last look around. 8 years condensed into one cardboard box. Derek appeared at my cubicle. "Adrian, He paused, struggling. "I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better." I studied his face, seeing genuine regret. "Thank you for saying that. Good luck, Derek. You're going to need it." I walked out of Pinnacle Analytics for the final time, feeling lighter with each step. The weekend arrived, and I prepared for my Quantum start date. Monday morning, I drove to their sleek headquarters, parking in my designated spot, a small perk that made me smile. Patricia met me in the lobby, handing me a security badge with my name and title. "Welcome officially, Adrian. Ready to change the industry?" I grinned. "Absolutely." My first day was everything I'd hoped for. My office had natural light, modern equipment, and most importantly, a team eager to collaborate. Dr. Hughes introduced me to my direct reports, 4 brilliant data scientists excited to work on innovation projects. We spent the morning discussing vision and strategy. They actually valued my input, treating my ideas with respect and enthusiasm. Lunchtime brought a surprise. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "System crashed. Client presentation disaster. I need help urgently. Derek." I stared at the message for a long moment. Part of me felt vindicated. They'd lasted exactly 1 week without me. Another part felt bad for Claire, who was surely drowning. But mostly, I felt free. I deleted the message without responding and returned to planning Quantum's data revolution. Over the following weeks, reports filtered back about Pinnacle struggles. Rachel texted occasionally with updates. Major clients were unhappy with system performance, Claire was overwhelmed despite her best efforts, and Derek was facing serious scrutiny from upper management. The Sterling account, Pinnacle's largest client, had threatened to leave after 3 significant data processing failures. I felt sympathy for Claire and the team, but not for Derek or Gerald. They'd made calculated choices based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how their company operated. Now they were learning a costly lesson about the difference between replaceable and valuable. Quantum, meanwhile, was thriving. My first project involved redesigning their core analytics engine, incorporating innovations I'd only dreamed about at Pinnacle. Dr. Hughes gave me complete creative freedom, trusting my expertise. One afternoon, Patricia stopped by my office. "Adrian, you won't believe this. Pinnacle just lost the Sterling account. They're citing declining service quality and technical difficulties." I absorbed this news quietly. Sterling had been with Pinnacle for 12 years, a cornerstone client. "Who'd they move to?" I asked, though I suspected the answer. Patricia smiled. "They're talking to us. And they specifically asked if you were involved." Sometimes karma works faster than expected. 3 months into my new role, I'd transformed Quantum's capabilities dramatically. We'd launched 2 innovative products that were generating serious industry buzz. My team was happy, productive, and actually excited about coming to work. Dr. Hughes called me into his office one morning. "Adrian, the board wants to accelerate your trajectory. How would you feel about a VP of technology?" I was speechless. "Vice President? After 3 months?" He chuckled at my expression. "You've earned it. Your work has directly contributed to a 40% revenue increase this quarter. Plus, you've built a team culture that's attracting top talent from across the industry." I accepted, of course. That afternoon, the promotion was announced company-wide. My phone exploded with congratulations from colleagues, friends, and surprisingly, several former Pinnacle co-workers. One message stood out. Claire wrote, "Congratulations on the VP role. You deserved it long ago. Things here are still chaotic, but I'm learning. Thank you for the foundation you gave me." I responded warmly, encouraging her to keep pushing forward. She was good at her job. She'd just been handed an impossible situation. That evening, I celebrated with Kevin over video chat. "From replaceable to VP in 3 months, he laughed. "Derek must be losing his mind." I grinned. "Probably. But that's not my problem anymore." A year after leaving Pinnacle, I sat in Quantum's executive conference room, presenting our annual results to the board. Revenue had doubled, client satisfaction scores were at all-time highs, and we'd successfully recruited 15 top engineers, many from competitors. After the presentation, I returned to my office, now on the executive floor with a stunning view. My phone rang, an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Adrian Cole." A familiar voice responded, "Adrian, it's Gerald Morrison. I hope you don't mind me calling." I leaned back in my chair. "What can I do for you, Gerald?" He sighed heavily. "I wanted to congratulate you on your success at Quantum, and to apologize, properly, for how we treated you. You were never replaceable. We were fools not to see it." I appreciated the honesty, even if it came a year late. "Thank you for saying that." He continued, "Derek's no longer with the company. We've restructured significantly. If you ever considered returning," I interrupted gently. "Gerald, I've moved forward. I hope you understand." He did. We talked briefly about industry trends, and the conversation ended amicably. After hanging up, I looked at my diplomas and awards now lining the wall. That word, replaceable, had cut deep a year ago. Now it seems absurd. I'd proven something important, not just to Pinnacle, but to myself. Everyone brings unique value. The key is finding people who recognize it. I opened my laptop and dove back into work, building the future, one innovation at a time. They'd called me replaceable. I called it Chapter 1.